So this is demo org, this is demo data, but this is simulating what Growth Loop looks like as a Growth Loop user. So like I mentioned, we have audiences, which is kind of like our fundamental building block. Again, if you're not familiar with our platform, or you'd like to know about kind of step one, which is audiences, we did have a webinar with my colleague, Catherine, that I would encourage you to kind of look through at our LinkedIn page to review that as well. And then today we'll go over journeys, which is almost like the sort of step up from audiences and trying to kind of develop a more sort of sophisticated audience journey in the journeys tool. So for the purpose of today, we'll do a couple of use cases for journeys, and we'll talk about how that might look end to end as a Growth Loop user and as a marketer. So here we are. Every journey on Growth Loop starts with an audience. So I'm going to skip past kind of the details of what a Growth Loop audience is for the sake of for the time here. But for our first use case, we will assume we already have an audience created. And in this case, we're looking at an audience that has not downloaded our app. Let's say we are a kind of e-commerce merchant here, and primarily customers engage with us through our website. But we also want to encourage folks to download our app to help improve engagement. So here's what an audience might look like as a Growth Loop user. You define the criteria, essentially defining the segment that you're interested in targeting. In this case, we are leveraging a couple of different customer attributes. Here in our customers table, we want to make sure we're filtering for app downloaded equals false. And in this case, we want to create a campaign where we are targeting non-app users who have a reward pending. So maybe we want to incentivize them with kind of an extra boost to their reward if they download our app. So we'll define that by filtering for reward giving date is not null, but we'll also make sure that they haven't actually used that reward. That's a Boolean. So again, these would be fields that are directly coming from your data warehouse to define this audience. And on the right here, we can see how big that audience is. So we're looking at 125,000 customers. Again, this is all demo data, but this will form kind of the basis of our journeys. So to start a journey, I'll go over to the Journeys tab here, and I will create a new journey. So you see kind of your existing journeys. We'll kind of step through the process of what it looks like. So once I hit new journey, I get into the setup page, and you can see right away within our app, we ask you to specify an audience that will be the basis. So thinking back to the audience we just looked at, we're looking to start with that 125,000 users roughly. So let me scroll down. I think they should show up pretty soon here. Maybe not. Let's go reward pending non-app customers. Great. So this will be our kind of entry. This is the first sort of building block for our journey. And you have a few settings that you can do in terms of scheduling that journey. I won't go too deep into these details, but you can essentially do it one time, what we call always on, or a kind of scheduled journey as well. So in this case, just to keep it easy, I'm going to say this is a one-time journey. And you can start it right away when you publish it, or schedule it into the future. So let's say I would schedule this into next Monday. And again, you can schedule it down to the minute of when it will start. I won't go into these kind of more detailed settings, but this is kind of the basics that you need to start off. Something you can kind of change as well when you are starting out. So here we are, and the very first kind of node in our journey UI is the entry node. So this is, you see it has the name of the audience that we are looking to start with. So that's where the entry node is pulling from. I would always recommend you start with giving your journey a name, just to save it and kind of track your progress as you're going along. So I'll call this reward app download segment. All right, hit save. And so now, as you continue to make updates, you can save and sort of keep track of the changes that you're making. For this first use case, we'll make a really simple journey just to show you what's kind of a basic example that mirrors what a lot of our customers do use journeys for. So you can kind of pan over here and zoom in and out to kind of make it a little easier to work with. But on the right here, you have a library, which is kind of the different nodes that you can create for this journey. So we've already specified this group of customers, and now we have to decide, okay, what are we actually going to do with these customers? So what we're going to do is actually email them right away. We're going to kind of start with the first email. So that would be a destination node, and we bring it here. It's kind of a drag and drop functionality. And I won't go too deep in the weeds here, but generally you'd have to already have a destination set up. When I say destination, I mean your marketing tools. So that can be, when it comes to email, that can be things like Iterable or Braze or Sailthrough, other email providers. But destinations can also mean paid platforms like Google Ads. It can mean social platforms like Facebook, etc. So if I select destination, in this case, I will choose Braze as the destination. It'll ask to have an export name. So this will kind of be useful for your own tracking purposes. So we'll call it reward app download 1. That's the first. And now these match fields are specific to each destination. In our case, we'll make it equivalent to email since it's a Braze destination. And the personalization fields include custom fields that you might want to include if it's not present in your destination to help personalize. So in this case, since we're talking email here, you might want to include something like their age or their zip code, or typically you might see like first name, last name to kind of be able to personalize the content of the email. But for now, we won't include that, and we'll just hit save. And now to actually connect the audience to the sort of nodes, you literally just kind of do a little drag and drop there. And now we haven't published this journey, but when we publish the journey, our tool will take this audience of 125,000 and it will export that 125,000 to this Braze destination. So again, I'm going to hit save just to keep track of my progress here. But this is kind of how the canvas generally works. You can kind of play around with the journey. Again, nothing gets actually run until you publish the journey. But this is kind of how you can define the building blocks. So to continue with our example here, we've emailed this group. And now, again, thinking about a really simple journey, we might want to wait to see if give that group a chance to actually download the app. So we'll create this delay node. And this is essentially just a really simple delay kind of timer. So it will wait for 1 week. You can set it for minutes, days, pretty flexible in terms of what you're looking for. And again, we kind of move in this, I guess, hierarchical pattern where you're going from the top and kind of working your way through the bottom of the journey. And so we'll wait for 1 week. And then what we want to do is check to see if they have downloaded the app. And so the way we would do that is use a criteria node. And this is almost like kind of like a mini audience. I'm just going to, if you kind of go into settings, you can set the definition. So this is going to be using that audience, that entry audience, as the source. And essentially, this is kind of like an additional filter, an additional check that we're going to look at for that audience. So keeping in mind the purpose of this campaign, which is app download, we want to check to see if they have, in fact, downloaded the app after we send them the email on Braze, and we waited for 1 week with that delay node. So I'll look for the app downloaded, And now I want to set it to true. And we're going to evaluate it basically when that audience has joined the journey. Okay. And that's all we should need to do. And then I'm going to put it down here and connect it to the delay node. So that means that after a week, as part of this journey, after we publish it, our journey tool will run this criteria for this audience at the top and see who has downloaded the app, who has not downloaded the app, since we've waited 1 week. So you'll see with the criteria node, we have a couple different paths here. We have yes or no. So yes, in this case, have they downloaded the app? No, in this case, have they not downloaded the app? We can set paths for either one. In this case, since we're doing a very simple use case, we only want to send them an email if they still haven't downloaded the app. So what we'll do is, again, have another destination node. And this one will also be in Braze. And now we'll call it reward app download. And we might call it maybe something like not yet, maybe. Just something to keep it more organized. Or you could call it reward app download 2, just to make it easier. And same as last time, we have to specify the match fields. And we'll hit save. And what we can do is add a path from the node. So in this case, these would be users who we waited a week, we checked to see if they have downloaded the app. It's still a no. And so we then route them again to Braze. And then we can either set another destination for the yes. Maybe we'll want to send them an in-app message, in this case, saying, congrats for downloading the app, or maybe something a little bit more customized. But in our case, just to kind of keep it simple for today, we're going to say they've completed the journey, which means that if they evaluate to yes for the journey, then they essentially leave the journey. We don't continue any other steps. And that's the end of that customer journey. For those who evaluate to no, they would be sent over again to Braze, and that's the end of the journey. They would not continue because there are no other steps that we've specified after the destination node here. So let me zoom out here. So this is kind of the steps of our journey. And I'm going to save this here. And now I'm not going to publish it because that would trigger the journey to start. Well, we scheduled it, so it would trigger the journey to start next Monday. So actually, let me hit publish here. Give it a time here. Give it a second. And now it's published. And so if you want to, you can kind of give it a hard stop. But generally, or you can also change the scheduled settings here as well after you've published. So it's not a, you're not writing it in stone in terms of the published. But now the journey has a published state. And once it runs next Monday, we will see this very first destination be sent over to Braze. And then it'll also trigger that 1 week sort of timer. And so we wouldn't expect this criteria node to be calculated until 1 week after the first publish, after next Monday. And just to show you what we're talking about, so kind of bring it back to the theme of, I mentioned at the start of this talk, is in terms of composability, you can schedule any destinations, right? And you might see this customer journey kind of builder. It's very similar to other platforms, Braze being an obvious one, but other types of CRM or kind of messaging platforms. The key difference for us is that we're completely agnostic. So for whatever reason, if you have multiple messaging platforms, you don't have to pick between the two in terms of creating journeys in both of them. Here is kind of one centralized place that connects directly to your data warehouse, and enables you to kind of send these audience segments and execute this sort of conditional logic of a customer journey within one place, within GrowthLoop. And so if I were to switch over to the view in Braze, so what this actually looks like for Braze, and it kind of looks, it looks different with every destination, depends on that destination. But between GrowthLoop over to Braze, we would actually send this destination as a segment. So in Braze, you would see these customer segments populate essentially as lists. And so they would take the name of that export that I defined in the journey, and you would see them pop up here within Braze as a segment, in which case it would be that 125,000 for the very first destination that we sent. 1 week later, we would check if they still haven't downloaded the app and then export another segment over to Braze. And then from Braze, you would still need to kind of actually do the execution. So within Braze, you might start to create a canvas using these segments, or a campaign in terms of actually sending the message. And so that's kind of one thing to note, where when we mean exporting to a destination, we mean getting that definition, that segment, that audience into these destinations. But yourself as the marketer would still need to then go into that destination and do whatever you need to do to activate that audience, either planning the message, or in the case of something like Google Ads, setting up the ads to be served to that audience. So let me switch back to the platform. So that's all well and good for a very simple, straightforward example. What we'll do now is go a little bit more complicated and look at more a cross-sell channel, a cross-sell campaign. So I'll go back to audiences and check out a different audience for a different, more complicated use case. In this case, we're looking to cross-sell a segment of customers. So again, we're kind of an e-commerce company. So here, let's say we just came out with a new product line, which would be apparel. And let's say our kind of core product is travel related. And so we want to kind of encourage our existing customer base to purchase our new apparel line. So the way we start out is we define this audience. So in this case, we're not too concerned about any kind of maybe demographic filters like we had before in terms of app downloaded, but we might want to create transaction-based filters because we're looking to cross-sell the actual product. So in this case, we want to make sure that they have a travel subscription. And again, this is now using a transactions table that would be present in your customer data warehouse and would be connected to the GrowthLoop tool. So you can kind of use this to define our travel subscribers. And then we want to filter for no apparel transactions ever. So we use the same transactions table, and we make sure they have 0 transactions where the product type is equal to apparel. And from here, we see, okay, we have about 25,000 customers. So that will be the basis for our journey. So if I go to journey here, and I'm going to start a new journey. And this time, I'm going to look for that travel subscription audience. And let's, for the purposes of showing something different, maybe we'll run this on a schedule. And maybe we'll schedule it to start, let's say, Friday the 13th sounds a little too suspicious. So let's do it for this Friday. And we have a lot of sort of customizability with the frequency. You can do it on various different schedules. So let's guys, we'll do it weeklies on Friday. And we can have it run continuously, or maybe we want to schedule an end date, and maybe that will be the end of this year, or maybe before the holidays. So let's call it Friday 20th as the holidays. And again, won't go into the additional settings here, but that's just kind of another more detailed view of what you can do in terms of actually scheduling the journey. And again, we'll name this journey so we can save it and save our progress. So we'll call it travel subs apparel cross sell. Hit save. All right. And now we'll essentially continue that process of building out our journey. And for kind of showing what else is possible here, we're actually going to split these up because maybe we want to experiment and see what's the most effective way to engage this cross-sell audience. So you can hit experiment here, drag it in. And here's where you can kind of create those, like, it can be a 50-50 split in terms of a maybe A-B type structure. You could go 80-20, 90-10. You also have a little bit more frequency, a little bit more flexibility too. So in this case, we might do something like, we'll do a holdout, 10%, and then we'll do 45-45. And so that'll add up to 100. And we can also rename these splits. And so essentially when we connect this to the audience, maybe we'll call this, let's call it Google Ads, and maybe we'll call this Facebook. And when I connect this to the audience entry node, what GrowthLoop will do in the background is split these groups into 10%, 45, and 45, random split to help you kind of create this experiment. And we will also write back these groups to your data warehouse. So you yourself can track which exact customers are landing within these groups. So that's kind of the first start, which is actually just kind of creating these groups. And then we want to actually run them through those destinations. So as before, we'll create different destination nodes, and each of them will correspond. So let's say the control, we can either say, the control, we won't actually do anything to them. We'll kind of leave them be to help measure that control, to measure the impact. But the Google Ads team or Google Ads group, we will actually send them to Google Ads. So we'll hit this one. Again, we'll call it a name. So we'll call it apparel cross sell. And we'll just call it 1. And you'll see we have different match fields because it's destination dependent. So we have a lot of options here when it comes to Google in terms of what fields we send over to Google to help match. In this case, we'll just use email. And when I connect that, it'll be similar to what we saw with Braze, where GrowthLoop splits up these groups and sends this 45% over to Google Ads. And we'll make sure these are distinct groups, so there's no overlap between these two groups. And for this one, I believe it was Facebook that we were going to choose. And we'll call it travel. I think we called it apparel cross-sell. I'll call it FB2. And again, similar to Google Ads, but a little bit more unique to Google or to Facebook. We have different match fields that we can use, and we connect them over to Facebook. And so now we have a different kind of cross-channel campaign that we are running, and we're also running it on different platforms. And with this control group, we can help measure kind of our uplift that we're looking for. And from there, the steps can be, we bring in a delay node. So maybe I'll just focus on one branch here, but you can continue to build out the branch for each path here. But let's say we surface an ad, we retarget that audience in Google, then we wait 1 week, and then we might check to see with our criteria node, we check to see if they've actually, if they've actually transacted. And so in this case, we would be using the dataset transactions. So we bring in GL transactions, and we perform more than 0 where the where the product type is equal to apparel. And so now that creates our easy sort of yes, no criteria. And we can connect that as we have before. And then again, in terms of defining whether it's a yes or a no, maybe we would send one final email if they still haven't converted. And so maybe we would set up a destination, and we could set that as Braze, for example, to be maybe our kind of last-ditch default platform that we would use to actually engage that potential customer to cross-sell. So you can see this is how we kind of try to implement the composable, tool-agnostic customer journey. You can choose whatever tools you already use. You're tapping into your sort of source of truth for customer data, your company data warehouse. You can segment it into that entry audience, you don't have to write SQL, you can just use our no-code editor. And you can set up this conditional logic within journeys, split it up into experiments if you'd like, create delay nodes, create different criterias, and essentially coordinate between these different destinations. So you don't have to kind of measure that out sort of individually within each channel as a marketer, but actually evaluate within GrowthLoop how customers are converting through each channel. And also, if you'd like and prefer, we write back this data into your customer data warehouse if you have in-house analytics that you work with as well. So let me just save this just to keep track of the progress. But that's pretty much the scope of today.